Hey everybody, Omar here, the Knife Shark Guy, and I am back with another fun-filled video for you. And today we're going to be doing a couple of videos on some old knives made by Kershaw. These two knives going back as far back as 2005, if you guys remember. So what we're looking at here are what we call halo projects. I'm sure you guys are familiar with those. If you want to look at their parent company, Zero Tolerance came out with a couple of halo project knives. They are basically knives that basically say to the public, this is the best that we could come up with the capabilities that we currently have, and these two knives are a perfect example of what Kershaw did. They no longer do halo projects. They pretty much left the halo project over to Zero Tolerance, and even Zero Tolerance hasn't done one in a couple of years. They usually try and do one every year. The last one they did was called the 999, and it's the last one that they've done. They have not done one since. Who knows why? Again, it's another example of the knife world kind of changing trends, so on and so forth. So let's go back to 2005. And as if you guys recall, there was no Zero Tolerance in 2005. It was just Kershaw. Or I guess they would, or I guess you would call it Kai. Kai was only known for just Kershaw and Kershaw only. And the problem with Kershaw was that they were trying to satisfy everybody. They came into the world when knife buying was not really a collectible genre yet, in my opinion, right around that time. Everybody just wanted a knife and saw knives as, this is a good cutting tool. That's all. The idea of collecting knives, the idea of making interesting offerings to the buying public was not in the cards at that time. This is pretty much at the height of that. Right around 2005, the knife world started changing, and Kershaw decided they wanted to come out and see what could they create that would entice the public into buying knives. These are two perfect examples right here. So I wanted to talk to you about these two, I guess, halo projects, if you will call them. This is the Kershaw Speedform 3500. This knife I believe came out right around 2005. If anybody out there is a Kershaw collector, please correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as I know, this is kind of in the early days of Kershaw, when they were trying to create interesting and amazing knives. This was one of them. This is called the Kershaw 3500. This knife is serial number 105. I don't even know how many of these they made. But this is a composite blade. And even the idea of creating a composite knife is practically non-existent right now. They don't have... Kershaw and Zero Tolerance doesn't have any brand new composite blades that are out right now. Who knows why? It's just something that they haven't done. This knife is D2 steel on the top with LMAX steel on the bottom. All right, the knife runs on washers. It's incredibly smooth, the 3500. They do have a smaller version of this knife, which is nowhere near what you see here. I'm going to actually bring that knife out right now. This is the Kershaw $3550. And there is no designer associated with either of these knives, right? But this was the original, and then they came out with the Kershaw 3550 Speedform, which is the smaller version in all LMAX. I mean, if you take a good look at these knives, they are similar. It's just that one is composite blade, much larger, and the other one is a smaller version of the same knife. So the retail price for this knife, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I don't know what they were selling this knife for at the time that it came out. All I can tell you is because it is now a collectible, this knife goes at the lowest. I've seen it at 700. At the very highest, I've seen it at right around 1200. I mean, if you see one of these Averagely, the knife will be anywhere between $700 and $900 on the secondary markets, even as high as 12. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. But it is, you know, if you're a collectible person like myself, it's going to be worth it to you as a collector. It's not necessarily worth it as a knife, but it is certainly, if you are a knife collector, you're going to want to go for one of these. So like I said, this is an all titanium piece. Basically, it is, once again, D2 on top, LMAX steel on the bottom. My knife, unfortunately, has a couple of scratches on it, which I scratched. I don't want to talk about that. It's very, very depressing. But this is an all titanium knife, solid as a rock, runs on washers, a very, very smooth knife. No lock stick whatsoever. It's just an absolutely fantastic collectible piece. And yes, even if Kershaw were still producing this knife, yeah, I'd be safe cleaning it like I am right now. One of the interesting things about this knife that you don't see anymore are the thumb studs. They're kind of angular, and the way you would deploy this knife is, instead of doing it out with your thumb, you basically just push it straight up, and the knife comes back up. So it's not a flipper knife. It is a thumb stud knife that does require some skill to open it. Like I said, it is just a straight up push rather than an out, down and out like everybody else is used to. The entire knife is solid titanium all the way through, including the back spacer. That's also titanium as well. So this is, yeah, once again, so this is the Kershaw 3500. And this is the Speedform 1. Sorry, Speedform 1. This is the Kershaw Speedform 2 3550, which is, I believe this knife is also discontinued now. But once they discontinued this knife, they continued on with the Speedform 2, which is now also discontinued. The knife came out in LMAX. If you notice, with Kershaw doing back in those days, they did release knives in a lot of the high-end steels like LMAX and M390. You don't see that anymore in Kershaw. That's pretty much out. They just don't do it anymore. Only because zero tolerance came into play, and they're now unfortunately limiting everything to 20 CV, which I don't even know why that makes any sense. But that's pretty much what Kershaw's doing, and what zero tolerance is doing. Sorry, not Kershaw, but zero tolerance is doing. But they tend to change things up quite a bit. They never seem to be able to find their niche. Zero tolerance, it was supposed to be big beefy knives, and then going back about 3 years, you know, talking about trends, they stopped coming out with those big beefy knives and came out with really slim knives like the zero tolerance 470, which is not big as a beast type of a knife. But who knows? You know, like I said, zero tolerance is still fairly a new company. You know, they came out in 2012. That's only about 8 years. You know, they don't seem to be latching on to, you know, what they claim to be, which is a company that makes really big, solid, monstrous-looking knives. But who knows? Maybe they'll go back to doing that. So, Speedform 1, 3500, and the Speedform 2, 3650. I'll put these two knives aside. We're going to get to this bad boy right now. So this is one of the most sought-after collectibles in Kershaw. This is the Kershaw Volt 3600. These knives on eBay go like hotcakes. Doesn't even matter how expensive the knife is. Somebody out there is going to buy it the second it's online to buy. The design is really, really unique, really pretty. I mean, the lines on this knife, it's absolutely spectacular the way they've created this. If you look, the line goes across over onto the handle. It's kind of like they mirrored this over to here for design. I thought that was an absolutely really, really cool look on the knife. Again, we have a composite blade, D2 on top. This time it's M390 on the bottom. Now, what knife do you know put out by Kershaw these days that's got M390 steel on it? There isn't one. Hence another reason to own this incredible collectible. You never thought you'd ever see a knife with M390 on it. Now this knife is actually associated with a very, very popular designer named R.J. Martin, and just like the Speedform 3500, they also did the same thing with the Kershaw Volt 3600. They came out with the 3650, which, by the way, this knife is not discontinued. You can still buy this knife today. It is a low-end budget piece, designed by R.J. Martin, same as this knife here. It's got sort of this, like, I guess, Naugahyde handle on it. But this is the super budget version of this knife. Like I said, this was a Halo project along with the 3500. It's got an over-travel stop. And just by looking at this knife, guys, you can see the coming of zero tolerance in this knife. This could easily be looked at as a zero tolerance knife with the over-travel stop on there, the entire knife being complete titanium. This is just an absolutely gorgeous knife. It's got one of the first times you've ever seen a deep pocket clip on a knife, even though this deep pocket clip is really, really very tiny and doesn't seem to be as solid as some of the other pocket knives that we've seen. In fact, this is a thin titanium pocket clip, which I thought was an interesting choice. The knife is an open construction. It's got standoffs as opposed to the 3500, which is a completely closed construction, with the back spacer coming all the way up to the top on that one. They put a little hole in there for the lanyard. And let's just take a look at this hole for a minute. Look how nice and smooth that hole is. I mean, that's where the lanyard goes, but I mean, there's no, like, ridges in there or anything. It's just a very, very smooth hole that they've actually probably polished inside. Just an absolute spectacular piece to own. I'm glad to have it in my collection. This is a safe queen along with the 3500. I'm never selling either one of these knives. Yeah, this is a frame lock. You can still get these knives on eBay. They pop up maybe twice a year. I've seen it. And for ridiculous prices. It goes as high as, I think I've seen one go as high as $1,300, and I also know for a fact that someone has probably bought that one. You know, it's a sought-after piece. This one is number 285. I'm not even sure how many of these they made. But, yeah. M390 and D2 steel. So, it's also the first time we've ever seen the idea of a composite blade, where a knife is made with two pieces of steel infused together. The idea behind a composite blade is to show strength on top and an amazing cutting edge on the bottom. And by using their choice of steel to choose to create the knife, to create that effect, they choose two steels. Yeah, and of course in this case it was D2 and M390. So, really great piece. R.J. Martin no longer makes knives for Kershaw anymore. In fact, this is the only knife that's running that R.J. Martin makes for Kershaw. You know, so that is pretty much it for this collectible. Like I said, these are collectible knives. I mean, if you happen to run across them, fantastic. You can check out the specs for these on these knives. I'm not going to do them. This is just a fun video, just to kind of show you what I own, what I have. And in case anyone out there is interested in collecting starting their own Kershaw collection, you're going to want to be on the lookout for something like this. Yeah, I mean, honestly, both these knives, you probably will have a hard time getting them, but it's not impossible. All you got to do is remember to look for them online. Punch them in on eBay. You'll be surprised that someone out there has actually got one and is willing to sell it. Keep in mind, it's going to be at an astronomical price, but if you are a Kershaw collector, this may be something you're going to want to look into. So this is Omar, the Kershaw guy, as well as the customs collector kind of guy. Just going over a couple of my high-end customs. not high-end customs, high-end Kershaws that are collectibles that I have in my collection. I just wanted to show them off. Like I said, I've done videos on these knives before, but it was so long ago that I don't think anybody even remembers it. So, yeah. So this is it for Kershaw Collectible Corner for today. My name's Omar, and happy knife hunting to all you collectors out there. Please stay safe, and I hope that you'll find one of these two collectibles in your collection. Give you another good shot at them. Once again, Kershaw has only 2 serious Halo projects. There is a third one. That one I'll be doing probably next week. And I think you guys could probably comment on my channel on what that third Halo project knife is. You guys probably know what it is already. I'm going to go ahead and bring that out next week for another Kershaw collectible video. Like I said, I'm doing all these because, you know, I haven't even brought any of these knives out in about 3 years since I started getting into customs, and I thought it was time to go ahead and bring them back out. Otherwise, you know, what am I doing with them if they're just sitting in a Kershaw bag, not doing anything? Which I think is, you know, it's kind of the downfall of safe cleaning knives, that you just pull them out, you flip them, close them back up, and put them back away somewhere. Not really using them to their full potential. But, you know, it doesn't matter either way. For now, as long as you're enjoying the knife in some way. And this is how I enjoy them. So this is Omar the Knife Shark Guy signing off, hoping you'll find one of these two in your collection. Please stay safe, and happy knife hunting.